This is my recap of Southern Charm, Season 1, Episode 5, Is She or Isn't She? Which is basically what the whole episode is. Is Kathryn pregnant or isn't she? So we open up with the scene that must have immediately followed the previous episode, because the end of the last episode was Kathryn leaving Jenna's party in a black and white dress, and the next scene, this episode, opens with her in the same black and white dress with Thomas discussing if she's pregnant. So they must have immediately left that party, which makes sense if you say, hey, I'm late, that you leave and go deal with that. So they go to a bar and get wine. Is that what you do when you think you might be pregnant? Just, anyway, and he's very concerned with, are you pregnant? Are you not? How do we do? What are we going to do? And she is 110% concerned with how hot Thomas is. Like, she is so into him. It really blew me away how transparently this crush was, because up until now she seemed kind of cool and, you know, typical 21-year-old kind of drunk college student. But around Thomas, she's completely transformed into like she will do anything to get him. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that she does, because she's sulking, she's being kind of passive aggressive about like, oh, and if I'm not pregnant, then you're just going to go off with all your other girls. And they decide they're going to go get a pregnancy test. And while they're waiting for the taxi, she like leans over on him and she's like, oh, you know, I've missed you so much. And she like leans up to kiss him, and he kisses her back and gives her a big old butt grab and everything. So he either does really think she's hot and is kind of into her, or he just never turns down a kiss. I don't know what his deal. It could be both. Anyway, they get a pregnancy test. They go back to his house. They test it, and he's saying, you know, if you're pregnant, I'll take care of you. This child will want for nothing, which maybe he should wait until he finds out. But anyway, it comes up error. So she says that she wants to get this done at a doctor. Like, she was like putting it off, like, oh, she didn't want to deal with it that night. But anyway, so she just spends the night at his house. It wasn't super clear. It kind of like they slept in separate rooms, so I can't be sure. And then he takes her home, and she looks so young in the morning. She has no makeup on. And she looks even younger than 21. Could just be that I'm getting older and everyone 21 and younger looks young. But, man, she really looked like a kid. And then we see Whitney and Patricia, who are my favorite people, two of my favorite people on the show. And she has a double master's in art and really wants him to get involved in the art scene, and would prefer for him to be a filmmaker rather than a maitre d'. And she just cracks me up. And their interactions, truthfully, crack me up quite a bit. Now, Thomas drops off Kathryn and then goes over to Shep's and is like, hey, man. And Shep's like, just barely woke up and looks like a surfer dude. And he tells her about Kathryn being laid, and Shep assures, you know, Thomas that they use protection. And Thomas is like, yeah, Kathryn said it wasn't yours anyway. And Shep's not totally sure why Thomas is there, but it definitely really shakes him up. Now, Kathryn goes home and sees her grandmother, Natalie. And Kathryn kind of explains to Natalie what's going on. And Natalie didn't seem that surprised. She said, oh, you know, 50's a good age. And, oh, you know, he's a politician. He comes from an old family. Which cracks me up, because everybody's family is old. Like, the one thing you're guaranteed that every single person on Earth has is DNA from two separate people. And that's all the way back through the history of mankind. But, so that always cracked me up when they say, like, an old family. Like the rest of us just sprouted up out of nowhere. But anyway, I know what she means, which is an old family in the city that is important to her. So there we go. Now, Shep and Cameron meet to get a tux for JD's upcoming party for Carolina Day, which I've never heard of, and neither has Cameron. And Shep like wants to pick out like a baby blue tux, and Cameron's like, no, we're going to get you a nice tux. And Shep tells Cameron that Thomas might have gotten Kathryn pregnant. And Cameron like doesn't believe him at first. And then she's like, I can't believe this is happening. And which is how I felt. Like, you don't need my recap. You just need to watch Cameron and then also Whitney's interviews, because they just lay out straight truth. And it is kind of shocking that a 50-year-old man would not use protection when, I mean, like, how we all know this. We know this is an important thing. And then Jenna and Whitley get together, and Whitley apologizes for his assistant asking Jenna straight out, like, how she could afford stuff and where she made her money. But he suggests maybe, you know, this is kind of a rumor that's going around. Maybe Jenna wants to explain it to people. So what Jenna explains is that she is 28 and her boyfriend is 55 and they've been together for 8 years. So what I need to point out is the age difference between Jenna and her boyfriend is essentially the same age difference between Kathryn and Thomas. And I just feel I need to point that out right now. So she was 20 when she started dating him and he was 47. Kathryn is 21 and Thomas is 50. So I want to point that out. Just I feel like that's going to come into play at some point, and it's important to know that, especially if Jenna, I don't know, we got to figure this out. Anyway, and she explains that she's not a gold digger because if she was a gold digger, she would have married him 8 years ago. That doesn't really answer anything. Saying that she's not a gold digger would be if she said something like, he's never given me a dime, or she made all her own money modeling, or, you know, the lottery or something like that. I'm not saying she is a gold digger. I'm just saying that that particular explanation is not going to get rid of the rumors that he's paying for everything. And in fact, it doesn't even disagree with the rumors. It just basically says that she's saying that if she was a gold digger, she would have married him. So I don't know. Now, Shep's been really kind of rattled by this whole thing with Kathryn, and, you know, he feels he dodged a bullet, so he wants to get more serious about MJ. So they made for coffee, and he asked her when she's free, and she basically says her social calendar is completely full. And I just don't get her. I don't get why she is even meeting with him when she's clearly not into him. Same with Danny and Thomas. Like, do these girls just want to be on TV? Is that what they're doing? Are they playing a role? Were they, like, hired to play the role of the love interest? Because I don't get why you would bother going out to lunch with someone just to say that you're too busy to go out with them. So I don't really get what's going on with these with half this time. I just don't understand it. So Whitney and Thomas meet up at and discuss Thomas's predicament. And Whitney's like, "What are you doing? You know, you want to be this politician. You already have this huge uphill battle because of your drug conviction. And now you're gonna knock up a girl who easily could be your daughter. In fact, she's almost getting to be too young to be his daughter. I mean, he would have been 29 when she was born, which is a completely reasonable age for people to have children. So, you know, like, what are you doing?" And that's why I think he's so funny. Next, Jenna and Cameron meet up. They're picking out clothes. They discuss it again. They kind of question if maybe Kathryn's faking, like maybe she's not pregnant. Which I think could be a reasonable, it would fit with the fact that she is so crazy about Thomas and she wants his attention so badly, and she is getting it. So there you go. Craig and Shep meet, they're okay. Now, and then Craig tells Shep that MJ's been seen around town with her serious long-term boyfriend from Ohio. And this is where I'm going, okay, clearly she's just doing it to either be on TV, or she was hired or something, because she doesn't like him and she's hanging out with her ex-boyfriend. Why is she even meeting Shep for lunch when it's clear that he likes her? And the other thing is, Craig is like gloating a little bit too much about this. Like, he keeps going on and on about Shep hooking up with Kathryn. And he just needs to let it go. Like, I kind of got it when it was like the day after, but then you like move on. Like, you don't, I don't know. So Craig kind of slipped down a couple notches for me. Now the big last two scenes. Thomas and Kathryn go to the doctor. They have a clear voiceover. The doctor, this doesn't make sense. These whole last two scenes I had problems with. And by that I mean that Thomas and Kathryn go in and they're like, the doctor comes in and she's like, "Well, I've had some abdominal pains and I don't know." It's like, "Well, first thing we're going to do is figure out if you're pregnant." And I thought, why are they even doing this? Like, why didn't they just go in and her say, "I'm late, I need to know if I'm pregnant"? Like, I don't understand. And from what I understand, I think they use the same kind of test that you can at the grocery store. But anyway, so that was really weird. And then the doctor says, "Well, you're not pregnant as of now." And then they leave and they go out to dinner, and Kathryn's just, she's just worshiping him. And Thomas has this really odd conversation where he's like, "Well, you know, after seeing how strong you were through this whole pregnancy scare, I really want to date you. Will you go to this place as my girlfriend? And the whole thing just seemed so bizarre and staged. So, you know, maybe they didn't get this on camera, so they went back and said, hey, we really want this on camera. Can you do it again? Which would be totally, would explain how awkward this scene was. Or my gut reaction is that she is pregnant. They don't want to tell anyone yet. So they're going to court for a while, and then, you know, not to court, but, you know, he's going to woo her for a while and date her and take her around. And then after a reasonable period of time, she'll either become pregnant, or they'll announce, oh my goodness, she has been pregnant this whole time and we didn't know. I don't know. That's kind of my gut reaction. I have no proof for that other than those, you know, a lot of those scenes seem really realistic, like these are real people talking to real people about real things. Those last two scenes felt very staged, like they had an agenda. And why in the world there would be an agenda that, I don't know. I don't understand it. I mean, I do honestly believe that Kathryn is crazy about Thomas, and he's clearly physically very attracted to her. I just didn't get those last two scenes. So if you have another theory, let me know.